Hey everyone, thank you for attending this morning's presentation. This is sort of a recap of the one that I gave, it was last week. So anyway, we're just going to be going over the basics of making your presentation accessible. There will be opportunities to ask questions. Please either use the chat feature or else raise your hand if you know how to use that in the Zoom. That I would appreciate it. So we will have opportunities for a questions and answer session following each of the pieces that I'm giving. So this is our objectives for today's presentation. It's just going to be sort of like an overview of how to make your presentation accessible. The various programs you can use, the way to address participant accommodation requests. You may be asked at the beginning of the meeting to either have your materials ready. We just want to make sure that everybody's sort of on the same page when we're giving the presentations during the conference. I'm going to briefly go over some of the captioning and the transcriptions. We really would, whether you're doing a recorded presentation or giving a live one, we really highly suggest you have some sort of captioning on the recorded session. So please bear that in mind. Over the past week, we've learned a few things about live transcribe that we didn't know before. So I'll be passing on that information today. The last thing I'm just going to do is a really brief poster presentation review. That's going to be, I think, there's a follow-up session with Dr. Raphael. That's going to be happening. Do you know which day it is, Naomi? Is it on Thursday? I can't remember. Anyway, I think there's going to be another one for the poster presentations. If you do have any questions about the poster presentations, please email us and we'll be happy to assist you. Okay, so when you're recording your session or giving the live one, one thing to do is to speak clearly. Don't speak too fast. And try to avoid jargon, because a lot of times either the ASL interpreter or your audience may not know exactly what you're talking about. So if you are going to be doing that, if you're going to be giving words that may not be used commonly, go ahead and please explain it so people have some idea of what you're talking about. When you have images within your slideshow, please describe them. Just want to know what is on the slide. So if you're using an image or a graphic to convey information, give it a brief explanation about what it is, because that will really help us out. Help anyone out listen to your presentation. For the slides, we really suggest you use at least 18-point size font, and use a sans serif font. That's one without the little, it's a non-like Times Roman font. They don't have the little things that spread out at the end of each letter. So please use something like Arial or Helvetica, something that's going to be easily read. And last but not least, that's not last, but please just put only important information on each slide. The slideshow is not the topic that you want to emphasize. It's the information that you're presenting. Remember that. The slideshow is just something that you're using for people to follow, and it's an addition to what you're saying. Next thing I would recommend is avoid text-heavy slides. In other words, I wouldn't go and put like a whole, 16 lines of text on each slide. People have a tendency to start reading it. So unless you plan on reading it, I would really recommend just having a few bullet points and dividing up the slides. You can better organize all your information as you give the presentation. Next thing I would you need to consider is putting like a text-only alternative format or transcription for download. So either do an outline of your slideshow or else actually do a recording, and when you have the transcription downloaded, just attach that on to your presentation site. A lot of people who use particularly screen readers prefer just going through text text only alternative formats as opposed to like trying to go through the slides. It is possible to make your whole slideshow completely accessible for a screen reader, but just having a text alternative format makes it much easier for people who use screen readers to go through all the content. You can also add things on to the transcription or whatever alternative format you have on things you think are important, such as the the explanation of what the various words that you're going to be using within your presentation. Now, the next thing is to use high contrast color combinations. What I mean by this is don't put like red text on a green background, or or a super light gray text on a white background. Just because you can see it on your computer, you don't know what the participants are using. They may be using a phone. They could be using some kind of small tablet. They could also just be seeing it in black and white. So always make sure that you have a high contrast between the text and the background, and always make sure that it's text and not an image. That's the other thing I would recommend. It'll make your presentation much easier to follow. And I know I said this before, but only add images that are really have some importance to your topic, your presentation topic. I wouldn't add in extra graphics to try and make it look nice. These things can be somewhat distracting. Also, you'll have to sit there and explain why you put it on there. So keep the thing just relatively simple. Like I said before, the slides are just sort of a visual aid for you to give your presentation and to follow through on. Okay, now if you're giving it the slideshow, if you're doing your presentation live, if you notice, like when I first started mine, I give these things several times a week, and even I forgot that I had muted myself. So just make sure that they can hear you before you start talking. It's no harm in just asking, can everybody hear me, to make sure that they, all their devices are hooked up correctly too. Use the chat feature. Can you hear me? Obviously, if you're muted, they're not going to be able to hear you. So use the chat feature in the Zoom presentation to emphasize what if they can hear you. Basically, just make sure that all the microphones are on and everybody's connected. If you're giving the presentation live, I would suggest that you announce if you're advancing to the next slide. That way people can follow. In other words, if you are giving the presentation, you may want to have somebody else actually clicking the slides. So you just say, next slide, please. And you would describe what the slide is, and then add any extra, information that you want to while the slide is up and being presented. Next thing is provide a copy. I think this has all been outlined in the information that we sent you. You want to be able to give a copy of the slides, and also like some sort of text, alternative format, text transcription. I would also put those up there on the, I think it's the Mighty Networks. Okay, are there any questions about what I've presented so far? Okay, if you transcribe the slide presentation, does each slide need to be labeled numerically? I would say no. Okay. I would say no, you do not have to numerically do it. Okay. Yes, it can be a Word doc or a text doc. The format doesn't really matter. In fact, probably MS Word is probably the best best format to put it in. Okay, I'm going to try and spotlight my, okay, add spotlight, got it. Huh. Okay, can you see me now? Okay, thank you, Naomi. Oh, perfect. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next area is captioning and transcriptions. So all presentations must be captioned. This is so that people who are deaf can read the captions. We'll also be having an interpreter on each one of the presentations, signing so that they can either use sign language or use the captioning. People use the captioning for a lot of different reasons. It's not just people who are necessarily deaf using captions. So a lot of times it's, people whose English is not their first language. Some people prefer having captions down just so they can follow what you're saying. They may not have the best, headset, or their speakers may not be working. So this is critical that you have all the presentations captioned, whether they are recorded or whether it's live. If it's being live, you can use Live Transcribe in the Zoom Pro accounts that we'll be offering people for the live sessions through the Pac Rim conference. One challenge that we've just recently found out is that it does not necessarily record. So even though I'm recording, you see the captions here, they don't necessarily come about. So you'll have to do the recording, and then you can download the transcription and then upload it to some sort of I believe we're using YouTube. You can put the transcriptions up there. Okay, so I have a few questions already. Okay. Okay, if you're just to clarify, if you're doing a recorded session on your own, you're responsible for your captions. If you're doing a recorded, but the Pac Rim team is helping you, we'll take care of the caption, but you need to edit for accuracy. So that's another this important thing is all these captioning software programs, it won't necessarily be able to record every single word the way you want it to. So please review the transcription before you upload it or before you post it onto the site. Okay, if you're doing a live presentation, the Pac Rim team will be taking care of your captions. I believe you attach it through onto the site, through the Mighty Network site. Maybe Naomi, isn't that correct? They have the option of having it there.
This is Naomi. So Ren, can you remind me, you're talking about recorded session transcription? It's different for all types, that's why.
Okay.
And is Mighty Networks for the platform where everyone can access copies of our presentation? Correct. So regardless of what type of presentation you're doing, everyone's final slides are due on Mighty Network in your prospective spaces this Sunday, the 21st. So if you're doing a live, you have to upload your slides there. If you're doing a recorded, you have to upload your slides there. As far as attaching transcription to presentations, I'm assuming you're doing a recorded, and you can also upload your transcription to the to Mighty Network, and we will process it and attach it. But then also you can embed it into your video presentation. That's great, right? So you can do both. You can have it as a text file and then also upload that to your video so that it's an
on the
caption.
YouTube channel, yes.
Yeah, but we will take the transcription and also put it onto our YouTube channel, if that makes sense.
Okay, then we also have a question about breakout rooms. That's going to be, I would try to not do breakout rooms if possible. I would try to avoid that because we're not going to be able to have the interpreter for every single one of the separate sessions. I also don't think it's going to be record correctly. So if you're thinking about doing breakout rooms, I would try and avoid that if possible. And is the Mighty Networks a platform where everyone can access copies of our presentation? Yes, that's correct. So I believe you've been assigned, have they been each assigned a page or?
This is Naomi. Everyone has a space. So there's a live presentation space, there's a recorded presentation space, a space for posters, and then a space for the pre-conference Saturday. And so the presenters for those different types of presentations will be uploading to those spaces. And if you want to access slides from those types of presentations, say you want to access from a live, you have to go to the live presentation space. Or if you want to see slides from the recording, you have to go to the recording presentation space. So Mighty is both a place for presenters to upload and a space for presenters to access. So it's a two-way thing. Think of it like a virtual room where you're be able to meet, quote unquote, online, and you're able to tag presenters, talk to them, ask them questions, and vice versa.
Okay. One of the participants asked about breakout rooms are an important part of my talk story. Could I have one room for accessibility needs? If it's really essential that you have breakout rooms. You could assign the interpreter, ask anybody if they need the interpreter, and go ahead and assign the interpreter to that room. Yeah, that's a possibility. Okay, just make sure that the people who are attending your session know that there's the breakout rooms and which one will have the interpreter. Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, there's already an interpreter assigned to each session, so it should work out. Okay, so you've done this before. Then you know how best to proceed. I was just trying to avoid people who are not used to using breakout rooms and how to assign things. If it's something new, you might want to consider not doing it. But if you're experienced at it, I would encourage you to. Okay, so yeah, all the breakout rooms are not recorded. That doesn't work on our recording session, but that's just the way it's going to go. Okay, any other questions about captioning or the transcriptions? So in the chat, it was in order for people to be comfortable in the breakout sessions, it's best that it not be recorded. That sounds fine. That's a good use of a breakout room. So like I said, we're not here to record everything if you don't want it recorded. So I'd say that's a good suggestion. Okay, now for the poster sessions, we have a platform, or I think it's Articulate. They have instructions, they have a video thing you go through. They have everything outlined. And once again, Dr. Raphael and myself can help you put up your poster session. You have a lot of flexibility in what you put up there. Typically, poster sessions are someone makes a, put on the cardboard, 3 by 5 or whatever the size of the poster is, and you'd sit there and people come and ask you questions. So you can make it that way. You can upload it as an image. The only thing I would recommend is you have some sort of, textual text transcript added onto it. It's available within that platform, and you can describe what it's on the poster. So if you're making it a poster, you have to realize if you put it up as an image, people are not going to be able to use their screen readers with it. So you want to be able to have some sort of text translation of what's on the poster. Something you can also do, we're not saying it's not required, but if you want to, you can also add a audio recording, describing what your presentation is, just as you would probably do if you were at a live conference. You usually have something saying who you are, what your research is about, or what the poster is about. So like I said, this is not a requirement. You do not have to do a recorded lesson. I'm just saying it sort of adds to the experience of engaging with your poster if you do have it. So just consider it could be real short, but not be long. It could be less than 5 minutes. The platform that we're using does have, you can add media files. We had someone yesterday that we were assisting, and they had a slideshow. So we suggested they use the slides, take the first slide, make that the image for the poster, and then have the slides available as the added media. So that's another way to do it. Okay, any questions about the posters? The posters and also all the recorded sessions are going to be up for 2 months after the conference. So there'll be other time for people to view it. So keep that in mind. Also, there is a place for the poster sessions that people can ask you questions, sort of like a chat feature, such as we have here. So I would recommend that if you do put up a poster, to periodically go back and check it, see if people have questions, put your contact information if you prefer them just emailing you or texting you or however you want to do it. But you can't just use that platform for interacting with people who've viewed your poster. Okay. Here are some resources that you can use. We follow Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act. So these are the quick reference guide. If you want to have some sort of idea of how to improve your accessibility of not just your presentation, but also websites or anything else you're doing, these are the guidelines that we'll be using. One website that I highly recommend that has very good information that's been stated out plainly and easy to follow is a site from, let's see, it's Utah State University. It's an organization called WebAIM. They also have a very excellent website accessibility checker that you can put into your browser and check it for accessibility. They also have, like I said, lots of very good information. Another resource, if you're going to be pre-recording it, let's say you record it and you download the transcription, then you want to go into something, you can use any program. I'm not saying you have to use YouTube, but I think the finals are all going to be up on a YouTube channel. So if you can use that, upload the transcription, and you can use that for captioning the video. It'll all be timed. The important thing is that you sync the recording with the live transcribe transcription process, and then you'll have something that's going to be real easy to put up and have it have the final recorded presentation captioned. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, if you do think of any questions later, you can contact me at tconway@hawaii.edu, or you can contact one of the Pac Rim conference team members, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. If you don't hear from us like within 24 hours, please resend it. We do get a lot of emails, so things can get mixed up. Okay, let's see. You do see my questions above. In order to, okay. We'll be sent our recorded sessions as a file to keep for our record, since it's only up for 2 months. I don't, Naomi, I would assume that you could keep it. I don't know. Naomi, is there any sort of policy about that?
This is Naomi. So are you talking about the MP4 file that's final, or the link? Because if it's the link, you can always just copy the link and save it to your file. I don't think we will be sending MP4 files to folks, just because it's going to, those are huge files. if you did want it, I'm sure we can work something out though.
Yeah. So the live sessions are going to be recorded and then posted, correct, Naomi?
Yes, to our
That's
YouTube
changed.
channel. Mhm.
So yeah, actually, you probably could just go on and download it yourself. Okay. Any other questions?
This is Naomi. I would like to add something just since we are together. Let me turn my video on. Hold on. Oh, but I'm not spotlighted. Can you spotlight me too, Tom? Okay.
You spotlighted? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. This is Naomi. I wanted to remind everyone to join Mighty Network if you haven't already. If you need the directions in your presenter, it's embedded in your presenter direction, but it's really important because as we were saying, this is where you're uploading your materials and also where you're finding others' materials as well and able to interact with folks that are in the conference. We don't get to bump into each other in the hallway anymore, but we can bump into each other in Mighty Network. You can direct message people, you can have live chats with the whole space. So there's a lot of things you can do. I encourage you to check it out, interact on there. Another thing that we recently learned is that Mighty Network sends out kind of random email notifications. It appears that these email notifications are coming from our Pac Rim team, and it seems like we're emailing you, but we're not. It's posts in Mighty Network. So in order to take that away, so it's not really just spamming your inbox all the time, make sure you go to turn off your email notifications. So the way you do that is on the upper right hand corner, there is a settings. And in the settings, you can turn off your email notifications, which I would highly suggest to do, because once the Mighty Network starts to get really busy, you're going to get tons and tons and tons of emails, which are just duplicate reminders of what's already in your Mighty Network. So if you turn off the notifications, but just make sure to check your Mighty Network regularly, you'll be able to catch everything. So I hope that that helps folks think that we're not emailing you 20 times a day. Please let us know if you have questions about that. But I look forward to seeing you on Mighty. It's a great way to chat and send messages in addition to, or actually instead of email, because as Tom mentioned, we do get a lot of email, but Mighty Network is, and there's also, speaking of spaces, a space that says, I need help. So if you ever need tech help or any type of other question, you can go into the I need help space and post for help. And our Pac Room team is monitoring that regularly. So I will see you in Mighty, and thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you at the conference. Thank you, Susan. Okay. So I think the next presentation is at 10, so you're going to get a little bit of a break here. So
I'll log out and log back in.